Let me ask you something. Have you ever woken up one morning and just felt empty? You don't know why you're tired or why there's a heavy feeling inside you. You try to focus, but your mind feels like fog. You scroll through your phone, try to get things done, but somewhere deep inside, there's a quiet voice asking, "What am I doing with my life?" Have you ever looked at other people, friends, strangers, even people online, and thought, "Everyone seems to have it all figured out. Why do I feel so behind?" If so, please know. These questions are not just yours. They're deeply human questions. I've heard them from many people, young and old, working professionals, students, parents, even people who seem confident and successful on the outside. And yes, I've felt them in my own life too. You see, feeling lost is not about intelligence or age or success. It's something almost every person goes through at some point. The trouble is, most of us feel ashamed to talk about it, like we're the only ones. But you are not alone. Let me share a short story. A few years ago, I met a young woman at one of my workshops. She was polite, always smiling, always on time. From the outside, everything looked fine. But one day after the session, she stayed behind and quietly said, "I don't know who I am anymore." She told me she had followed the path her family wanted for her, got a good job, and did everything right. But she felt empty, like she was living someone else's life. That conversation stayed with me. It reminded me how many people are carrying silent struggles behind calm faces. So today, we're not just going to talk about that lost feeling. We're going to understand it. We're going to look at it gently, honestly, and without judgment. We will ask, why do I feel lost? Where is this feeling coming from? And, most importantly, what can I actually do about it? You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to fix your whole life today. But you do need to begin with one honest thought, one small step. By the end of this lecture, I want you to walk away with a deeper understanding of why you feel lost, and more importantly, how to begin finding your way again. Because you are not broken. You are not alone. And this moment of being lost may be the beginning of something real, something meaningful. Let's begin. What does it mean to feel lost? Let's take a quiet moment together and ask ourselves, what does it really mean to feel lost? We use that word a lot, lost, but we rarely stop to understand it. In simple words, feeling lost means that you no longer feel sure of where you are in your life or where you are going. It's like walking through a thick fog. You can't see the road ahead. You can't see the signs clearly. Sometimes you don't even know if you are still on the road. You may feel like you are just moving without purpose, or not moving at all. Emotionally, this feeling can be heavy and confusing. You might feel sadness that you can't explain. You may feel like crying, but you don't know why. Some people describe it as being empty on the inside, even when they're surrounded by people. Others say it feels like they're carrying a weight, but they can't see it. Your energy may disappear. You feel tired, but not because you ran or worked hard. It's a different kind of tiredness. It's the tiredness of the soul. You try to focus, but your mind feels cloudy. You try to make a decision, but every option feels wrong or unclear. These are emotional signs that something inside you is unsettled. You may not even be able to talk about it clearly, because the feeling is hard to name. But deep inside, you know it's real. You know that something isn't right. In daily life, this feeling shows up in many ways. You may find yourself stuck between two paths, and you don't know which to choose. Should I stay in this job or try something new? Should I continue this degree, or is it even what I want? You might be doing something that looks right to others, studying, working, even earning money. But inside, you feel disconnected. You're not excited. You're not inspired. It's like going through the motions. You get up, you go to work or school, you come home and repeat. But nothing feels meaningful. You may wonder, is this really all there is? Sometimes you feel lost because you've reached a point where life is asking you to change, but you don't know how. You feel something inside calling you to grow, to move, to start again, but you don't have a clear direction. And that space, between what you're leaving behind and what's next, can feel frightening. It can feel lonely, but it's also where something new can begin. It's important to know that feeling lost doesn't always mean something is wrong with you. In fact, it often means something real inside you is waking up. Your heart is asking for more honesty. Your soul is asking you to stop pretending. Your mind is asking for clarity. But here's the hard truth. Many people ignore these signals. They stay busy. They distract themselves. They keep going through life without stopping to ask the big questions. Who am I? What do I truly want? What kind of life do I want to live? Let me be very honest with you. Feeling lost is not the same as failing. It is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you are human. It is a sign that you are aware. Aware that something inside you is shifting. Aware that the life you are living no longer fits you. And that awareness, as uncomfortable as it feels, is the beginning of growth. Some people feel lost after a big change, like a breakup, or losing a job, or moving to a new place. Others feel lost without any clear reason. Everything looks okay on the outside, but inside, it feels like something is missing. That's okay. There doesn't always need to be a reason. Sometimes your inner self just knows it's time to change. So if you feel lost right now, don't be afraid of that feeling. Don't fight it. Don't rush to cover it up. Instead, pause. Pay attention. Because feeling lost is not the end of the road. It is the beginning of asking better questions. The beginning of coming back home to yourself. And that is what we are going to do, step by step. Let's keep going. Common reasons why people feel lost. Now that we understand what it means to feel lost, let's go a little deeper and look at why this happens. Because when you begin to see the reasons behind your confusion, the fog starts to lift. You begin to realize, it's not just me. I'm not broken. I'm not weak. I'm just human, and I'm trying to find my way. One of the biggest reasons people feel lost today is this. We are surrounded by too many choices, but not enough clarity. The modern world gives us more options than ever before. What to study, where to work, what kind of life to live, who to date, where to live, what to believe. But with so many options, we become overwhelmed. It's like standing in front of 100 doors and not knowing which one to open. And often, we freeze, we wait, we overthink. And in that space of too many choices, we feel stuck. We ask, what if I choose wrong? What if I regret it later? Another reason many people feel lost is because they are not living their life. They are living someone else's dream. This happens quietly, and often with good intentions. Maybe your parents wanted you to become a doctor or an engineer. Maybe society told you that success means having money, status, or a big title. And so you followed the path that others drew for you. But now, years later, you wake up and realize, this is not me. This is not what I truly want. And that moment of honesty can shake you. You begin to feel lost, not because you failed, but because you've been too far from your truth for too long. Fear also plays a huge role in making people feel lost, especially the fear of failure. Many of us grow up with the idea that we must always succeed, always win, always have the right answer. But life doesn't work like that. Life is full of trial and error. Yet, when we are afraid to make mistakes, we avoid decisions altogether. We stay in our comfort zones. We don't try new things because we're scared of failing or being judged. But ironically, this fear of failing often leads to something worse, a life unlived. And when we play it too safe, we begin to lose our sense of direction. Another deep reason we feel lost is that we become disconnected from our inner voice. That quiet part of us that knows what feels right and what doesn't. As children, we are very connected to this voice. We know what we love, what we enjoy, what feels meaningful. But as we grow older, we are taught to ignore it. We are told to be practical, to be realistic, to stop dreaming. And slowly, our inner voice becomes quieter. Until one day, we realize we can no longer hear it. And when you can't hear yourself, truly hear yourself, you begin to feel lost. One of the most common and most painful reasons people feel lost today is because they constantly compare themselves to others. Social media has made this problem much worse. We see people smiling, traveling, succeeding, falling in love, getting promoted, and we start to believe they have it all together. Why don't I? But what we forget is that we are comparing our inner confusion to their outer performance. We don't see their struggles. We don't hear their doubts. And so, we start to feel like we are not enough. We lose confidence in our journey. Sometimes, the feeling of being lost comes from something even deeper, unhealed pain from the past. Maybe it was a childhood wound, a betrayal, a breakup, or a trauma you never got to process. This pain doesn't always scream loudly. Often, it hides beneath the surface and quietly shapes our beliefs. I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve happiness. These beliefs can cloud your direction and keep you stuck in patterns that don't serve you. Healing this pain is not easy, but it is possible. And when we begin to heal, our path becomes clearer. And of course, many people feel lost simply because they lack a clear sense of purpose. They wake up, do their work, go home, repeat. But they don't feel connected to something bigger. They don't feel like their life means something. And that emptiness builds over time. It's not about how busy you are or how much you achieve. It's about whether what you're doing feels meaningful to you. Purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It just has to be honest and personal. Even small things, done with love and intention, can bring great meaning. Finally, we cannot ignore the digital noise all around us. Social media, news, constant information, opinions, arguments. It's too much. We are overstimulated, but underconnected. We are busy, but not present. And in this noisy world, it becomes very hard to hear your own thoughts. You feel pulled in 100 directions, and that leaves you feeling scattered, anxious, and, yes, lost. The truth is, feeling lost is not caused by one thing. It's often a mix of many small pressures that build up over time. And unless we pause, reflect, and ask the deeper questions, we will keep moving, but without a true direction. That's why this conversation is so important. Because when you begin to understand why you feel lost, you can begin to find your way back to yourself, piece by piece, day by day. And that's exactly what we'll explore next. Shall we continue? The psychology of feeling lost. To understand why we feel lost in life, we need to look a little deeper, not just into our choices, but into our minds. Psychology helps us understand what's going on inside us when life feels confusing, uncertain, or heavy. And the first thing to understand is this: the human brain does not like uncertainty. It's uncomfortable. It's stressful. It's even scary. Your brain is designed to keep you safe, not necessarily to keep you happy. And when the future is unclear, when you don't know what's next, your brain starts to send out warning signals. Think about it like this. Thousands of years ago, humans had to survive in dangerous environments, wild animals, changing weather, other threats. So our brains developed a system to protect us. It's called the fight, flight, or freeze response. When you feel fear or confusion, your body quickly reacts. You either fight the danger, run away from it, flight, or freeze because you're unsure what to do. This was useful when the danger was real, like a lion in the forest. But today, our dangers are emotional and mental. You feel uncertain about your future, unsure about your career, afraid to fail. And your brain still reacts the same way. You feel anxious. You want to escape your situation. Or you freeze and do nothing at all. This is why feeling lost often leads to feeling stuck. Your mind is confused. Your body is tense. Your thoughts start to race. And without realizing it, you become overwhelmed. Even small decisions start to feel big. That's not weakness. That's your nervous system trying to protect you. But the problem is, in trying to protect you from risk, your mind can also hold you back from growth. Now let's talk about emotions and beliefs. Two powerful forces inside every person. Emotions are not just feelings, they are signals. When you feel lost, your emotions are often telling you something important. That something in your life is out of alignment. Maybe you're working a job that goes against your values. Maybe you're in a relationship where you feel unseen. Or maybe you're pushing yourself to be someone you're not. These emotions, sadness, emptiness, frustration, are not the enemy. They are messengers. They are asking you to pay attention. But emotions are also shaped by your beliefs. And many of these beliefs were formed long ago, often in childhood. Think back to when you were young. What were you told about success? About love? About failure? Were you allowed to express your true self? Or were you told to be quiet, to be perfect, to please others? These early messages shape how we see the world and how we see ourselves. If, as a child, you learned that your worth depends on achievement, you might now feel lost when you stop achieving. If you learned to avoid conflict or hide your feelings, you might now feel lost in relationships. So much of our adult confusion has roots in childhood beliefs we never questioned. This is why self-awareness is so powerful. When you begin to notice not just what you feel, but why you feel it, you start to understand yourself more clearly. You start to see that feeling lost is not just about current circumstances. It's often about old patterns, fears, and stories that you've carried for years. And the beautiful thing is this: once you see those patterns, you can start to change them. The mind is not fixed. The brain is not a hard wall. It's more like soft clay. Psychologists call this neuroplasticity. Your brain can grow and change throughout your life. New thoughts can be created, old beliefs can be challenged, and new directions can be formed. You are not stuck forever, even if it feels like it. But you do need to understand how your mind works and learn how to gently work with it instead of against it. So if you feel lost, remember, it's not just about what's happening around you. It's also about what's happening within you. And when you begin to explore your inner world, your fears, your emotions, your early beliefs, you start to unlock a deeper level of clarity. Let's now take this understanding forward and explore what you can do when you feel lost. The practical steps, the gentle changes, the ways to begin again. How to begin finding yourself again. Now that we've explored what it means to feel lost and why it happens, it's time to talk about the most important part. How do you begin to find yourself again? Notice that I didn't say, fix yourself. Because you are not broken. Being lost is not the end of your story. It's the part where the story changes. But to make that change, you need to slow down, listen deeply, and take small, honest steps. You don't need to solve your whole life today. You just need to begin. The first step is to silence the noise and listen to yourself. Our world is loud. Social media, news, opinions, constant distractions. They make it almost impossible to hear your own thoughts. When you feel lost, what you need most is not more advice from the outside, but more truth from the inside. That means spending time alone, not in loneliness, but in quiet. Go for a walk without your phone. Sit in your room without music or videos. Just breathe and notice what you feel. At first, it might feel uncomfortable, but with time, your inner voice will begin to speak. And when it does, it's worth listening to. After that, start small. Take one honest step. Many people stay lost because they try to make a huge life change all at once. But real change starts with one action that is true to who you are. Maybe it's writing a journal entry. Maybe it's having a difficult conversation. Maybe it's signing up for a class you've always wanted to take. It doesn't matter how small it is. If it's honest, it matters. One true step leads to the next. And little by little, you begin to move again. You also need to ask better questions. Most of us ask ourselves fear-based questions. What if I fail? What will people think? What if I'm too late? But these questions don't lead to clarity. They lead to more fear. Try asking different questions. Who am I when no one is watching? What brings me peace? What do I love doing, even if no one pays me? What kind of life would feel meaningful to me? Not perfect, but real. These questions open doors. They don't pressure you for answers. They invite you to explore. Asking questions is important, but so is writing, reflecting, and thinking every day. Even just 10 minutes with a notebook can change the direction of your life. When you write down your thoughts, your fears, your dreams, something powerful happens. Your mind becomes clearer. Your emotions settle. You begin to see patterns. You begin to notice what matters to you. And slowly, the chaos in your head becomes a little more peaceful. You don't have to do this alone. In fact, you shouldn't. Talk to someone you trust. A friend, a mentor, a teacher, a therapist, someone who listens without judgment. When we share our story out loud, we often hear it more clearly ourselves. And sometimes, just being seen and heard is enough to remind you that you're still here, that you still matter, that you're not as lost as you thought. One thing that holds many people back is the idea that they have to be perfect before they begin. But here's the truth. You must let go of the need to be perfect. Perfection is an illusion. It keeps you afraid, ashamed, and frozen. Real life is messy. Growth is messy. Becoming who you are is not about getting everything right. It's about being honest, brave, and open. You don't need a perfect plan. You need the courage to take an imperfect step. While you're doing all of this, it's also time to redefine success for yourself. Many people feel lost because they are chasing a version of success that doesn't belong to them. Maybe success for you isn't a big house or a big job. Maybe it's living with peace, creating something beautiful, helping others, or having more time with your family. Whatever it is, let it be yours. Not what the world expects, but what your soul desires. And finally, above all, be patient. Real growth is quiet. It's slow. It's not always exciting. It doesn't always make sense while it's happening. But one day, you'll look back and realize that you were changing all along. That all the moments you thought were wasted were actually preparing you for something deeper. Don't rush the process. Don't compare your timeline to anyone else's. Healing, clarity, self-discovery, these things take time. And that's okay. So if you feel lost, start here. Quiet the noise. Take one honest step. Ask better questions. Write and reflect. Talk to someone. Let go of perfection. Choose your own version of success. And most of all, trust the process. You are not starting from nothing. You are starting from experience. And that is a very powerful place to begin. My personal story. Let me share a true story. One that still lives in my memory because of how deeply human and honest it was. A few years ago, I met a young woman named Amina at a local community center where I was giving a series of free workshops on self-reflection and personal growth. She was in her early 20s, polite, quiet, and always sitting in the back of the room with a notebook in her hand. She never missed a session, but she never spoke much either. After one session, she waited until everyone else had left. Then she came up to me and said softly, "Can I talk to you for a moment?" I said yes, and we sat down. She looked down for a long time, searching for words, and then finally said, "I feel lost. Everyone thinks I'm okay, but I don't even know who I am anymore." She went on to tell me that she had been working in a small office job for nearly 3 years. It paid her bills, her family was proud of her, and on paper everything seemed fine. But inside, she felt like she was slowly disappearing. Every morning, she would wake up feeling tired, not physically, but emotionally. She told me, "It's like I'm watching someone else live my life, and I don't know how to stop it." She had taken the job straight after college because it was the safe choice. Her family had sacrificed a lot for her education, and she didn't want to disappoint them. But now she was stuck. She had no time to think, no energy to dream, and she didn't know where to begin. I didn't give her advice right away. Instead, I asked her a question. When was the last time you felt truly alive? Even just for a moment? She thought for a second and said, "Back in college, I used to take photographs. I would walk around the city, capturing little things, sunlight on a window, a stranger's smile, kids playing in the park. I felt peaceful when I did that. But I haven't touched my camera in years." That small moment of honesty was her turning point. I encouraged her to start again. Not as a career, not to make money or impress anyone, just as a way to reconnect with herself. She didn't need to quit her job or make some huge life change. She just needed to begin again, one small step at a time. And she did. That weekend, she pulled out her old camera. She started walking again, taking photos just for herself. Over the next few months, her energy began to return. She wasn't fixed overnight, but she was no longer numb. She found a weekend photography group. She started waking up with a little more purpose. Eventually, she even built a small side project, helping local artists share their work online. Her job didn't change right away, but she changed because she found a way back to who she really was. What I want you to see in Amina's story is simple but powerful. Sometimes the path back to yourself begins not with a big plan, but with one brave, honest decision. One step in the direction of something real. You don't need to know the whole road. You just need to take one step toward yourself. That is how healing begins. If you've been listening closely to this lecture and recognizing yourself in the words, I want to say something to you now, clearly, gently, and with deep sincerity. You are not alone, and you are not broken. I know the feeling of being lost can make you think there's something wrong with you, that maybe you've failed at life, that you're behind, that everyone else is moving forward while you're standing still. But I promise you, being lost is not a failure. It's not a mistake. In fact, it's often a sign that you are finally beginning to see clearly for the first time in a long time. Here's the truth. Most people don't say out loud. Many of the wisest, most creative, most successful people you've ever heard of. They all felt lost at some point. Before they built something meaningful, they sat in confusion. Before they found their purpose, they wandered through doubt. They questioned everything. They cried in private. They felt like giving up, but they didn't. Or rather, they did give up, not on life, but on pretending. They let go of what no longer served them. And that's when real direction started to emerge. Being lost doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. It means you're awake enough to realize that something in your life needs to change. And that is brave. That is powerful. That is the beginning of wisdom. Right now, you may not have the answers, but you do have the ability to ask better questions. You may not see the full road ahead, but you do have the strength to take one small step. You may feel uncertain, but you are not without hope. Let me offer you some truths to carry in your heart. You are allowed to start over, not just once, but as many times as you need. Your worth is not based on your productivity, your title, or your income. Your pace is not too slow. Your journey is not too late. There is no rule that says you must have it all figured out by a certain age. You are doing better than you think, simply by caring enough to ask where you're going. This is not blind optimism. I'm not telling you that everything will magically work out overnight. I'm telling you something deeper. That within you, there is strength you haven't fully met yet. There is wisdom that's growing quietly. There is clarity forming in the background. It may not show up with loud fireworks. It often comes in silence, in stillness, in small steps. So when you feel lost, don't panic. Don't shame yourself. Just pause. Breathe. Remember, this too is part of the path. You're not supposed to have it all figured out right now. You're supposed to keep going, one honest moment at a time. And most of all, don't give up on yourself. You are not broken. You are becoming. As we come to the close of this lecture, I want to leave you with a gentle but important reminder. The journey of finding yourself again does not require grand gestures or dramatic changes. It asks only for one honest step, taken today. You don't need to move mountains in a day. You don't need to have the whole path mapped out. What matters most is that you start, even if it's small, even if it feels uncertain. Maybe today you can take a few minutes to sit quietly and ask yourself a simple question. What do I really feel right now? Or, what is one small thing I can do to listen to myself? Perhaps you can write a few lines in a journal. Not perfect words, just honest thoughts. Or maybe you can take a short walk outside, without distractions, to feel the air and notice your surroundings. Sometimes, movement in nature helps us find movement inside. If you have someone you trust, a friend, a family member, a mentor, consider sharing a little of what you've discovered today. Speaking your truth aloud can be a powerful step. Remember, this is not about pressure. It's about presence. It's about opening a door, even just a crack, for your true self to enter. You have the power to begin that now, in your own time and your own way. As the great poet Rumi said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." Feeling lost can be that wound, a place that hurts deeply, but also invites light, growth, and transformation. When you feel lost, you are on the threshold of becoming something new. Thank you so much for being here with me today, for listening, reflecting, and choosing to invest in yourself. If you found this lecture helpful, I warmly invite you to subscribe to the Excellent English Learning YouTube channel. Here, we explore many ideas together, not just language, but life, growth, and how to become your best self. Your journey matters. You matter. And I am honored to walk with you, even a little along the way. Take care, be gentle with yourself, and remember, every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory.